Thanks for listening. Just a reminder, while I am a licensed property and casualty adjuster, I am not an attorney. Everything shared in this episode is for informational and educational purposes only. It should not be taken as legal advice. Tune in to the next episode where our inspiration comes from real-world scenarios. Thanks for listening. Welcome to Property Talk with Charisse, your go-to guide for navigating real-life homeowner challenges and property claims. We unpack the fine print so you can understand your coverage before disaster hits. Today's story? A cozy weekend gathering takes a turn into a full-blown property disaster. Leah's here to tell us all about it. Leah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Charisse. Honestly, I don't think I'll ever forget that Friday night. It started so normal, but it ended with a situation I never thought I'd face.
So, take us back. What was the plan for the weekend before all this chaos started?
I wanted a relaxing, low-key weekend. Just a handful of friends over, something good to sip on, good food, hanging out and catching up. The weather app said a chance of rain, but that's not unusual where I live. It's like background noise, you hear it, but you don't really hear it. My friend Brian was the first to arrive. I met him on the porch. He parked in my driveway as usual, and we both went inside thinking it would be a great, easy night.
Sounds like everything was lining up for a perfect evening. For a little while, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone arrived, we sat down for dinner, and then we started hearing rain. It was light at first, but it quickly turned into a heavy downpour. Then came the wind, just pounding the house, rattling the windows. It started making all of us feel uneasy. The lights began flickering on, then off, then on again. It was so eerie. That's when it sort of hit us that we might be in for more than just a summer shower.
Wow, my goodness, that sounds intense. Isn't it wild how quickly a peaceful evening can shift into something unsettling? That moment when the wind picks up and the lights start flickering, you can feel the energy in the room change, right? That eerie feeling you described. It's so real. Did anything happen after that?
Exactly. At first we joked to shake off the nerves, but then we heard this insane gut-wrenching crack, like the tree outside snapped in half. There was this massive thud, like the whole house jumped. The lights flickered one last time, and then went out completely.
That had to be terrifying. I can just picture the whole room going from laughter to complete shock.
Yeah, it really was. We all froze. Suddenly, I heard water dripping, fast and steady, from the living room. When we looked over, there was water pouring through the ceiling. That's when I realized something enormous had slammed into the roof, and my heart sank.
In that moment, you realize you're not just facing a storm. You're dealing with real damage to your home, which, for most of us, is one of the most important and most expensive things we've ever purchased.
Absolutely. And then Brian, who was still trying to process everything, looked out the window and just kept repeating, "Oh no! Oh no, 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 no!" I followed his gaze and saw his car. The entire hood was smashed, the windshield was totally shattered, and it was pinned beneath a huge branch from this 100-year-old oak majestic tree. And the craziest part? The tree wasn't even mine. It belonged to my neighbor.
It's like a worst-case scenario. Your property gets hit, the roof's damaged, water is pouring into your living room, and your friend's car is wrecked right outside, all in a matter of minutes. How did everyone react once the shock wore off?
For just a moment, we all just stood still. The group of us was just rattled. Poor Brian in particular. He just kept murmuring about how he'd just finished paying off his car. I felt awful. He's one of my dearest friends. He was at my house. His car got destroyed. And I just kept thinking, how am I going to fix this? For a little while, I just felt responsible for everything, even though logically, I knew I couldn't have caused it.
I think a lot of people would feel the same way. Like it's somehow your fault if something goes wrong when you're the host. But the reality is, sometimes it's just bad luck. What happened when you woke up the next morning and started looking into what to do next?
The next morning was a whirlwind. The first thing I did was call my insurance agent. He walked me through getting my claim started. The damage was so severe, I was advised to mitigate my damage and keep my receipts for any temporary repairs I had to get done before the claims adjuster contacted me. Since Brian was stuck at my house, he said he was going to call his own insurance company too. But then he hesitated and asked if my homeowner's insurance would pay to fix his car since it happened on my property. We were both wondering if I had liability coverage under my homeowner's policy for his car. We had to wait for the answer to that question.
That's such a common question. A lot of people think a homeowner's insurance should pay for any damage that happens on their property, but it's not always that clear-cut.
Exactly. I really didn't know what to tell him. The stress was overwhelming. I wanted to be there for my friend, but I was also dealing with a hole in my roof, water pouring into the house, and now the possibility that I could be responsible for thousands of dollars worth of repairs on someone else's car.
That's where knowing your coverage can be a huge help. In most cases, when a tree falls during a storm, whether it's yours or one you didn't own, it's considered an act of God. That means you're not automatically liable as the homeowner unless there was negligence, like knowing a tree needed to be removed and ignoring it.
And this wasn't even my tree. It belonged to my neighbor.
Right. This does add another layer to the claim and a little more investigation. Now, when it comes to the car, the damage would be covered by Brian's auto policy, but only if he carried comprehensive coverage. A lot of people don't realize that liability only covers you if you hit someone else's car, while comprehensive is for things like storm damage, falling trees, or vandalism.
Yes, that's exactly what the adjuster explained. Since the tree fell due to high winds, and there wasn't any negligence on either my part or my neighbor's part, it was just one of those freak events. My homeowner's insurance paid for my home repairs and my furniture that was damaged, but it didn't cover Brian's car. His comprehensive coverage would need to handle that. While I was relieved, I still felt so bad for Brian. At one point, I thought of how I was going to fix his car before my claims adjuster explained my coverage.
It's tough when there's a gap in understanding. People want to do the right thing for their friends, but insurance has those boundaries for a reason. And honestly, if you had offered to pay or admitted fault right away, you might have ended up complicating both claims.
Absolutely. I almost wrote him a check just to keep the peace, but my agent warned me that could be seen as assuming responsibility and could mess up any claims down the road. I was relieved when the facts came out, but until I had that confirmation, I felt sick about the whole situation.
For anyone listening, here's some practical advice. Document everything. Take photos and videos, including timestamps if you can. Make sure you secure your property as best you can after the damage, like putting up a tarp or calling in a mitigation company. Notify your insurance agent as soon as possible and encourage any guests with damaged property to call their own insurers. Don't make promises and don't admit fault unless you're sure.
I wish I'd known all this before that night. I think things would have felt less overwhelming and awkward with Brian if I'd had a better understanding of my policy and my responsibilities as a host.
That's why having knowledge ahead of time matters so much. Not just for your peace of mind, but so you can act quickly and correctly when disaster strikes. And for everyone out there, make time to review your policy and know your coverages. Hopefully you never need them, but being prepared is half the battle.
Absolutely. And just having this conversation with you now, I'm realizing how important it is for homeowners and their guests to know the basics. It can save friendships, not just money.
If this has been helpful for you, I'd love it if you would share with your friends and family and make sure to like this episode and subscribe for more real-life stories and expert advice on all things homeowners insurance and property claims. Leah, thank you for sharing your story. These real-life experiences are what make people realize why the fine print matters and why knowing what to do in the aftermath of a storm event or an accident is so critical. And if you want to be truly prepared, check out our free homeowner checklist and more resources every homeowner should have, linked in the description of this episode.
Thank you, Charisse. I appreciate the chance to talk about it and hopefully help someone else feel a little less alone when disaster strikes. I'll admit, it was a very stressful weekend and the repair process a little daunting, but I learned a lot.
For our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Property Talk with Charisse. Remember, when a storm sends a tree crashing down, it's often considered an act of God and nobody's direct fault unless there was negligence involved. Review your policy, know your responsibility, and don't hesitate to call your agent with any questions.
Thanks for having me, Charisse.
You're welcome. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and keep your home and your friendships protected. Stay insured.